welcome to Porsche Club Insider episode 16. We are here at the podcast studio at 5 North Main. Got our cup of coffee filled up here. I think I got a latte today, so thank you to the folks at Coffee Bar Bel Air. Speaking of which, I hear one of the employees, we've had some influence on one of their employees and his recent purchase. I believe he's driving down south to pick up something today.
He's coming back today. Yeah, Nathan.
Yeah, picking up a Boxster. So a young enthusiast.
I think it's an 01 S too.
Oh, an S. Fantastic. So can't wait to see. Hopefully we'll get to see that after the podcast today. We're here with the insider crew, minus the one regular one. We're a little bit jealous. We can't say where he's going.
Why not?
I don't think so. Can we say?
I can't imagine. I think it's fine to say.
Okay. Well, he's on a press trip
in Germany.
But not say what he's reviewing.
Not going there on behalf of the U.S. government.
Well, he's not. I don't know that we can say what he's going to be reviewing is what I meant. But anyway, we've got a lot to cover. It feels like we haven't been together for quite some time.
Well, like I said, Damon and I have been together every day.
Yeah.
You've been on traveling all the time.
Oh, I have. But before we kind of get into the updates of events and news, I'm going to start today's with confessions. I woke up this morning. Well, let me set the scene.
Is it anything to do with the shirt you're wearing?
No, but thank you very much for noticing.
As a bunch of little wrenches.
Yes. So if you're watching us on YouTube, I'm wearing a shirt with very small little open-ended wrenches, which looks like a pattern. But if you're a car person and you're up close, you can notice that I'm a car guy.
I'd be impressed if you could tell they were metric.
Yeah, I don't think so. So let me set the stage. So Monday afternoon, I get a call from my son that the Corolla, the 300,000 plus mile Corolla won't start. And I've been noticing that the starter has been erratic for the past couple of weeks, but I figured we'll change it later. Anyways, he gets stuck. I go out and save him and bring him home. And the trick, how do you get the car to start if the starter's acting wonky? Do you guys know?
You can whack the starter because they're usually the solenoid sticks.
And exactly, that's exactly what happened. We just popped open the hood. I had a rubber mallet and tapped the relay or the end of the starter, and I fired right up, got him home. So I don't want, I've been traveling, so I didn't want him to drive that car and get stuck, because if I'm not there, who's going to go out and save him? So anyways, you guys know I have a 5 Series, a car that we resurrected before COVID, and I was like, just take that to school. Please be very careful with it. And this morning I wake up to a photo, and I'll share it with you guys later. That so he's a very careful driver. He's a very careful driver, and
he's careful when he's doing donuts, right?
he even goes to school early, and so we've taught our kids well. Where do you park your car? What's in a parking lot? What's the best parking spot?
Well, it all depends what kind of car you're driving.
Corner with only one side, right?
It's correct. Exposed. Damon has it. So
well, if I'm inside my Chevy Sonic, I could care less where I park it. Even the Z3, I don't care.
Well, when you're driving your dad's 5 Series, where would you park? And as Damon said, you park in the corner where you have 50% less chance of a door ding. So I think this is what happened. I still have to confirm it, but anyways, I can tell because when he turned into that corner, he scraped the lower bumper, the spoiler, the lower chin spoiler of the car, and he texted. He's like, "Dad, I'm so sorry." And I know he was being careful, and I know he chose that parking spot because it was a corner, but he misjudged it. So my question to the both of you is, have you or when you were younger, did you borrow your parents' car and did you do something to it and not tell them or tell them later?
Well, my mom had a Camry, kind of like the crappy one that I have now. So you can't scrape the bumper. It's about 2 stories too high for that. It's not fast enough to do anything. But I used to sneak out in my Mustang and drive around when nobody knew. My dad or mom, they'd be sleeping.
But did you have a license to drive?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, but you just went out when you weren't supposed
I didn't do anything bad.
Oh, you're such a good kid. How about you, Manny?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of a good one. I had a 73 Buick Century with the hand-me-down.
73 Century?
It's a bit. It
That's a
was
boat.
land yacht.
Oh my gosh.
And I learned that you cannot come out of a street when it's raining trying to peel your tires.
Oh boy.
Because the level of grip is severely reduced. Anyways, I overcorrected. Luckily, the high school jock usually parked his hot rod at the spot where I impacted the curb. Wasn't there. Otherwise, I would have hit his hot rod. And I ended up bending the wheel, breaking the axle. Luckily, my girlfriend's dad at the time felt sorry for me, and he went to the junkyard, got replacement parts, and fixed it because I didn't know nothing at all about fixing cars at the time. And so my parents never knew. I just think I told them that there was something wrong with the car and that Mr. Tom was going to fix it for me. And
that was it.
And that was it.
So I probably do have a story, actually, now that I think about it.
Oh, so you're not so good of a kid
that I've
now.
done that my parents did know about. But I remember, so the high school I went to used to make us do community service, to look better for college applications. And I remember going up to Escondido area. I grew up in San Diego, and there are some really nice curvy roads out there. I was in the Mustang and just picture it's a 1997 V6 automatic in laser red is what they called the paint. And, I wasn't very experienced driving quickly. I'd never done an autocross. I had never done a driving school and had barely been on a back road. And I ended up going too fast around a corner on a 2-lane back road, crossing over the double yellow, straight over, understeering. Cliff going up on my right side and then a cliff going down on the other side. I ran off the road thinking it was the end, but there happened to be a little pull-out you couldn't see that, it just landed the car. Checked around, a little lip spoiler, not that it would matter on a car like that, but had fallen off and put it in the trunk and drove off. I don't think I ever told my parents about that.
I knew there had to be at least one story. Yeah. So my story is we had my parents had an 87 Isuzu Trooper. You remember those? It's kind of like, looked like a lunchbox.
Like great off-roader, I think, right?
Yeah. It had the puny 4-cylinder, but it was a manual and it was a fun to drive vehicle. And I think it was a day off because of snow or something like that. My dad was home. And so I was like, Dad, can I borrow the Trooper and go get something? So anyways, I go out, put it in 4-wheel drive, and I go flying around, and everything was a lot of fun. And I come back into the neighborhood, and I'm thinking, I'm in 4-wheel drive. We've got these Goodyear Wrangler tires. And so I whip around the curb, and when you know it, it understeered straight into the divider to the entrance to the neighborhood. And I'm like, oh my gosh, hopefully it's not bad. So I pull over immediately and I look, and it didn't bust the tire, it didn't break anything, but it bent the rim. And I was like, oh man, my dad's gonna kill me. So I get home, it's snowing, right? It's snowing, and it's there's snow on the ground. I get home, he was inside. I open the garage, I get the floor jack, I take the spare out, and I switch. I put the spare, which the spare on a Isuzu Trooper looks, it's the same rim, same tire, it's full size, right? So I switched it, and I put the messed up one, and the spare tire had a vinyl cover over it, so I just covered it, and then I took it around the neighborhood a couple times to get that wheel dirty so it would match the rest of it. And I didn't say anything for a while, and then my dad did notice, maybe a week or so later. He's like, hey, why is the front tire newer than all the other ones? What'd you do? I was like, yeah. So that day I took it out. So he didn't get mad. So that's what I thought about this morning as Jason, texted me the picture. Like, I know, I felt terrible when that happened. And I know Jason, because I was explicit about, please be careful with this car, and you're driving it temporarily. And it's just bigger than a Corolla. And I just expected that something was going to happen. I know he's probably sitting in class now going, my dad's going to kill me. But you know what?
Is this your car you drive to work?
Yeah.
The one with 30 warning lights when you turn it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like, it's a life lesson. Hopefully it's not a big deal. I was like, it's not the end of the world. But I will teach him how to sand down the scratch. We're going to buy a touch-up kit and paint it. And, it won't be a Concours paint job, but he's gonna fix it. So it'll be a lesson learned.
Nice.
Let's see. Recently released, I don't know if you guys saw this, Top Gun. Top Gun was recently released. You know why that's important for Porsche people?
There's a 356 in the movie.
Well, in the original one, Kelly McGinnis drove a black speedster, but I believe it was like an Inter Mechanica speeder. It was a replica. So I remember when that movie came out, and that was pretty cool to see them in that car. But it was cool to find out that in the new Top Gun, there are also Porsches. I don't know. Obviously I haven't watched it.
I think it's a 911. I thought I read it was a 911.
So I think I've seen previews, and they had like a number of Porsches. Like I think it was a Taycan and a Targa, a GT3 or something like that. So I don't know. Hopefully some of you that are listening have watched it, and so I wonder what Porsche's in the new movie.
Well, we know this, and maybe some of the listeners know this, but for the most part in Hollywood and TV, the a-hole drives the Porsche. It's always like that. It's the villain, the jerk, the ex-husband.
We don't like that. We don't like that, but somehow that happens.
It always happens.
Yeah.
And I think Porsche's making a concerted effort to dispel that image. Whether it'll work, I don't know, because it's a cheap, easy shot that any movie or TV production can do. But yeah, kudos to them for. I don't think they will supply a car if the villain is
correct.
Negative, but they will. So yes, I thought.
So there's an old one. An old looks like a 911. It's a long hood.
Looks like a T,
and it's a long wheelbase.
So,
we've got. Those are jets. There's I guess maybe a Mission R pops in somewhere.
Yeah. So I think it's Maverick's car. So he's the good guy, right?
Porsche.
I don't know the new storyline, but Kelly, she wasn't a bad person in the movie.
I don't think she's in the second film though.
Oh, okay. So, well, like you said, hopefully, if Porsche was a part of it, it's because it's a positive role in the movie. And I agree with you. I can't stand it when the villain is always driving a 911. And I do like that they're in the movies. Like growing up in the 80s, Porsches were, in the movies a lot. And that's where the seed was planted for a lot of us. Be like, oh, that's such a cool car. So, all right, let's see. Let's talk. We've got Porsche news, but then I've got lots of updates on events that are coming up. What do you guys want to do first?
Let's do the events update.
Events update. Okay. The Porsche Club's 70th anniversary celebration is coming up, and that's a celebration of Porsche Clubs worldwide. We've got some special imagery, and we'll put out at Porsche Parade, I'm sure, some more information on that. And what's really cool is I have some data here. So if you allow me to quickly switch over.
I thought that PCA was the first Porsche club.
No.
We're not even the first one in the United States.
Yeah. No.
Porsche Owners Club was a few months before we were.
Yeah. 1952 was the first Porsche Club, Porsche Club Westfalen.
They were actually called, I think, something else, and they changed it to that from what there was originally 13 members, because that's why they only built 13 of the worldwide club coupes back in was it 2012, I think.
Any guesses on how many Porsche clubs there are worldwide?
I saw 700 plus in the press release.
700, you're correct. And of the 700 clubs, how many Porsche Club members are there worldwide?
240,000 plus.
You're such a cheater. Did you pull it up?
I wrote the story yesterday.
Oh, you read the press?
I was wondering why you're setting him up with a cheater. But what was interesting is there's over 100 Porsche clubs in Germany alone. And I always explain to people that fortunately the forefathers of the Porsche Club of America decided to keep everything in one central club, which makes us the largest single marque car club. Now, you would think Corvette Club would be bigger because
more of them.
There's more Corvettes. They've been building them longer than Porsche has. But the reality is there's a bunch of Corvette clubs in my county alone. I think there's 3 just in Hartford County.
And they don't get along.
Well, you would think that you would have, they do have like a national Corvette club, but it's nowhere near the size of PCA. PCA's whole structure and how they set themselves up as a club really paid off in dividends, because we are by far the largest Porsche club in the world. And when you go to the international presidents meetings, that's really shown when everything else is like per country. And they're just amazed at the size of PCA.
So Porsche says it's 240,000 plus members worldwide. Does that include PCA.
Yes.
So does that include PCA's? What is it? Primary members versus
Yes.
primary and co-members?
Yes.
Wow.
So of the 240,000 club members worldwide, we are about 145,000 of that 240.
That's crazy.
So a factoid here, like I said, we're about 145,000. The next largest Porsche club, which is Porsche Club of Great Britain, any guesses on how large they are?
30,000 maybe?
20 or 30, I would say.
22,000.
22,000.
So as Manny said, we are certainly a model in many ways, not just being the largest. We have, 3,500 events or so a year. Worldwide, there's about 11,000 events. So all this is to say, thank you to our volunteers. I mean, we are not only large, but we're just probably the most enthusiastic club with the most organization and events for Porsche owners to enjoy, and it would not be possible without our volunteers. All right, next up, let's talk about Works Reunion Monterey coming up August 19th. That's the Friday of Monterey Car Week, and I've been sweating bullets, to be honest with you, because the venue that we were at last year, the Black Horse Golf Course, it was great in the sense that we were together on the same property as the Ferrari Club and Concorso, and it's a beautiful property. The downside to that is unfortunately we couldn't really use the main entrance, and there was a couple of entrances on the side roads that we had to have the corral and public, the spectators go through, and let's just say they were not the most accessible driveways or paths, and it was rough and it was dirty, and we got through the event last year, but if we were to have gone back this year, we really would have had to make some significant investments to make those entrances more appropriate for the people that are coming through them. But we got a call I want to say a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, that there's a lot of construction going on at that facility, and we can't even use the bad entrances that we have. So we had to find a new home for Works Reunion, and as you can imagine, pretty much everything is kind of tied up in that town for that weekend. But we kept looking, and kudos to our Works Reunion chair, Tom Pravasi, and his wife Sandy. They went out and just looked under every rock and around every corner, and we landed at the Monterey Pines Golf Course. I think it's military ran. It's a beautiful golf course. It is the way we'll have the field laid out. It's very centralized and it's very flat, and it's in beautiful Monterey. So we will be there. Registration opens by the time this is out. Registration will already be open, and hopefully we'll see you out there. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, and for people who haven't been to a Works Reunion and are thinking about going to one and are close to Monterey, you can really appreciate what the club did when you realize that the Concorso Italiano, which is a for-profit concours, their ticket was $250 a person.
Yeah, something like that.
$250 a person. Works Reunion was free. You just paid the parking, which was $40.
$40.
Yeah, $40. You can squeeze as many people in the car if you want. The price is still $40 to park, and entry is free into coming to spectate. It works. Concorso was fun. Was it $500 worth of fun? Boy, I guess it all depends on your income level, but wow.
And they had some beautiful cars there, of course. But we're the value, and honestly, I think we're the fun. I mean, we have music going. The judging is very how do I say, lighthearted, maybe. Plenty of parking. Even if you're not there detailing Concours level to the nth degree. And
no, it's just to come hang out.
Hang out, have fun. There's good food.
I think last year you extended the band by an hour because people were having such a good time just laying on the lawn listening to the band.
We did. And music is funny. I think I've mentioned in the past that, I've DJ'd like through college and stuff. And, when you're trying to please 5 or 6 different generations that are out there enjoying the car show, picking music is a really hard thing. So, we had a live band, a multi-piece band, sort of a, live fun show. I enjoyed it, but there were people that were like, it's too loud, or it's too active music. They're looking for like more jazz type music. So we're going to still have music this year, but it's going to be more in line with what we do in Amelia, where it's like a duet and it's more acoustic. And we'll see if we can't kind of tone it down a little bit.
I was going to say, we can't get any more mellow.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do mellow. Like, I don't want to put people to sleep.
So no Beach Boys on repeat?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
happened the previous year.
Yeah, or like Sade, the best of Sade.
We could do this podcast live because Scotty at Cars and Coffee told me that he was listening to us, and his fiance walked by and said, "Those guys' voices put me to sleep."
Oh, great.
And I'm like, let's see, we've been accused of talking slow,
not
not exciting, and now putting people to sleep.
Well,
I said just leave it play so we can get the credit for the play.
Exactly. All right, so moving on, September. Look out for September 2nd through 4th. That's Sports Car Together Fest in Indianapolis, and we're still waiting for a lot of details, but PCA will be there to support Porsche, and there'll be corrals, there'll be racing.
Anything about it yet?
I can't say a whole lot.
Theme is?
So I can tell you it will be GT themed. So if you have a GT car, keep your ears open.
Everyone's welcome, but
everyone's welcome.
The GT cars.
Yeah, everyone's welcome, but the theme is the GT cars, and there will be some special access opportunities for people with GT cars, and it's primarily coming through PCA. So you want to keep listening and stay in tune with what we're about to announce. Speaking of being in tune and commenting, I want to thank folks for commenting on the podcast and subscribing. And this person here, the most recent, I can't see his name, but he did comment, and I liked what he said. And this is the whole point of the podcast. The hosts are knowledgeable, interesting, and funny. They have great topics, great guests. It's like hanging out after a Porsche high performance drivers education event, drinking a beer, talking about the subject we all love most. Like, that is why we do this. Just to hang out.
All I hear was drinking beer. We can bring alcohol next time.
So we have coffee right now.
We have coffee. We would probably be more entertaining and less sleepy if we had beer.
Well, maybe
should we try? Maybe we should try an episode with beer. Yeah. I don't think that is a cannot
or
do.
At least a margarita.
That was a comment left by Psycho Man. So Psycho Man, thank you very much. Not Psycho Man, Cycle Man.
I like the one that said we weren't exciting. But that wasn't a podcast. That was the 1 mile review.
That was 1 mile, and we'll get into that a little bit later. The next event you'll want to mark your calendars for is November 13th. Unstock, save the date. That will be in Los Angeles, California. We've got some big plans there. And just to remind folks what Unstock is.
You can't announce the location.
You know what? For this one, not yet. Next podcast, I can. It'll be in the Los Angeles area. It'll be amazingly fun. There will be
Unstock last year we had a Gunther Works.
Yes.
It was interesting because there was 3 events, at least that we knew of, that were Porsche-centric happening at the same time. So we were a little bit worried about what our turnout would be, even though we had sold out all our spots. It's a show really for modified Porsches. We wanted to show the love to modified Porsches because sometimes PCA is accused of just loving original cars, unmodified cars. So Unstock was actually a name that Ru's wife came up with, Unstock, just using the German
umlaut.
And that's why the Germans couldn't understand why we spelled it that way, but it sounded good in English. So we picked 100 modified cars, everything from a mild modification to a pretty blown out, really modified car, even like a 914 that had the Subaru transplant in it, which was pretty cool. Yeah. And it went over like a blast. I mean, people showed. It was only about 3 hours long. Mm-hmm. People showed up as we expected 2 hours earlier than we told them to be there, but we were ready for them. Well, we did the best to park the cars in a exciting manner in a business park, which actually turned out really well. Gunther Works opened their doors. Instead of doing tours, they just opened up their whole facility. And people really like that because they got to see the whole assembly process of the Gunther Work cars, which most people have never seen. Which I was surprised because I figured living in that area, everyone's seen Gunther Works, but it was the first time they'd actually been to the building. And in 3 hours it was over, but the people just had rave things to say about it afterwards. And of course, the first question was, when are you doing it again? And other people from outside of California were saying, when are you coming to my area to do one?
Mm-hmm.
So,
and last year was really a proof of concept opportunity, and obviously it went over very successful. This year is going to be, we're going to do it one more time. I think
again, not just one more time.
Well, that's true. That's right. Well, we're going to do it again in Southern California. I think it just naturally has that base there, right? Southern California just is like modified car capital of the world. But hopefully the executive council will see that maybe there are some opportunities in other areas of the country that we do that. But I will tell you, the one that we are having in November, I can tell you we're going to be closing down a street. I can tell you there will probably be some interesting celebrities. There'll be fun music. There'll be amazing barbecue and food trucks, and we'll have some opportunities to see some project cars. And we're partnering with a household name that and worldwide renown for a number of things that they've done, and it'll be a lot of fun. And I'll leave it there, and the next podcast we'll give you the full details.
And do you have the date you said?
November 13th, Sunday.
13th, so to anybody else trying to plan events,
November 13th.
We're going to be in LA that day during Unstock. So
yeah, and it's like from 11 to 1 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. So it's not super early, which is quite different for PCA, and it's a short stint, and you can come hang out, have fun, and then still have the rest of your afternoon to do something. Yep. And we've got some major sponsors that are coming to show us some unique hardware that they have. All right, and the big one, and this really doesn't take place for this year, but it's for 2023, and it was all the predictions that we talked about on the last podcast. You want to take this one, Damon?
Yeah, so Rennsport Reunion 7 is coming back in 2023 at Laguna Seca. I think all of us at the table, the podcast table here, wanted it to come back to Laguna Seca because it's just the ideal place to have a show where, 80,000 plus spectators show up, a walkable paddock that's open to those spectators. So...
Can I confess?
Confess, please.
You know how hard it was for me to hear you guys go back and forth and make all these it could be here, it could be there, but I've known for a while.
If they would have allowed us to bet, that would have been the easiest bet.
Yeah.
To win money on.
And I've read some comments that there are some pretty upset people that it's there again. And I'm like, in what's going on in the world, what's going on with car manufacturing and lack of parts and this, that, and the other, can't you just be happy that it's happening? Really?
Well, I will point out that PCA does not make this decision.
Yes, that is true.
This is done. We're not even. They talk to us, but that's something that they do at their own level, and they have their own reasons. And I think we articulate them in the previous podcast. But yeah, PCA is a close partner with Porsche when it comes to Rennsport, but as far as selecting the venue, that's all Porsche. And I think they made the right decision.
I agree. There's a number of puzzle pieces that have to fit perfectly to pull off something that's going to bring 80 to 100,000 people and all the right cars, moving things in and out. There's so much that has to come to play, and it's not an easy decision. And changing a recipe every couple of years or something like that is a big undertaking. Imagine if you had a very successful recipe already. Do you want to mess with that, right? So I don't blame them, and I think it'll be an amazing event. And for those of you that live far away and are feeling that, man, I don't, it's too far for me to drive. Truly, it's okay. Take a plane. You can have so much fun at Rennsport Reunion just park your rental in the big lots and come in and have fun. The last thing you're going to really, yeah, it's cool to bring your car to a Rennsport Reunion. I think that would be a bucket list thing, but even if you can't, there's still so much to see.
I tell people, if you really want to drive a Porsche that week, start looking at Toro.
Yeah,
as soon
right.
as those dates become available, book something from Toro. You can get pretty good deals on Boxsters, Caymans. That a little bit more than a regular rental car, but you'll have a Porsche. And
we had a couple people do that for Treffin. So
the way I think about it is when you're out there with Rennsport going on for 4 days, Porsches and cars everywhere. There's a heavy police presence. All the roads are going to be crowded. Law enforcement's going to have their eye on you. Last thing you're going to be doing is driving your Porsche on a back road when Rennsport's going on, is the way I think of it. You'll be driving it to a restaurant maybe and back to the hotel. It's not a big loss, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say that stay tuned on this podcast because you guys know I have a long commute and I listen to a lot of podcasts. And yes. Oh my God.
Misinformation
Central. With other podcasts that claim they're everything and anything about Porsche. And I can tell you, folks, these people are not anywhere near the table with Porsche and planning this event. PCA is invited right from the beginning of these meetings throughout the process. They're consulted and they're at the table. So we'll get you the right information.
Yeah.
Don't rely on hearsay or people who think they know what's going on or people who say they have a friend of a friend who's on the inside. There's so much misinformation. And by the way, Porsche AG, the AG does not stand for Auto Group. It's a German word, but it's a corporation. It's not the Auto Group.
We're very fortunate that we're in a support role for Rennsport. We, as Manny said, we're in the weekly conference calls or teams meetings with Porsche. Everything that I can share with, PCA staff and with you all listening, I do. Things that I have to hold confidential, I do. But as Manny said, we get it from the source and, stay tuned. And that's why you listen to Porsche Club Insider. We try to get you that stuff as soon as we can. And if we're not getting it to you through here, make sure you're subscribed to eBreak News because that's our weekly channel to get you the latest and greatest information on PCA and on Porsche.
Because the big things that the PCA members are going to be able to take advantage of as members is they get first shot to buy parade laps.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, believe it or not, a huge thing. People may have already driven parade laps at Laguna. Yes, they pack 100 cars onto the track, but wow, they are very popular and they sell out very quickly because people just want to be part of that atmosphere of 100 cars going out for 3 laps
with Porsche fans flying Porsche flags as you drive around. Like
Laguna's pretty cool when you're driving and there's 80,000 fans.
Yeah,
in the hills and the stands watching. It's a whole different experience. I remember the first time I raced at Watkins Glen. It was a 50-50, and it really threw me off seeing spectators standing in the woods in the stands, because up until then, club races never have spectators. So to see spectators was actually a little bit disconcerting as a driver.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time. I'm looking forward to it, and just like with getting a car for Rennsport, check the dates for the hotels and the Airbnbs. Guarantee you, people are booking things up, and they know that you're coming to town, and the prices will reflect that.
And we also know it's not till the end usually do we know who from Porsche drivers are coming, and even cars are up in the air. So if you start hearing what cars they're going to be bringing this early, don't believe it.
Things change all the time, but it's going to be good. It's going to be good. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
It's the 75th anniversary of the Porsche as a company. So this is the Germans really cherish anniversaries, significant anniversaries. So I can guarantee you they'll bring out everything special to them. And being the American market, the Germans love, and I would imagine a good amount of the family will come as well.
Mm-hmm. And the collections of cars that will show up, not only U.S. collection of cars, but cars from the museum, cars from international collectors, drivers that you read about and watched, as a young kid. They'll be there. It's a bucket list event, and it's known worldwide, and there's nothing like it worldwide. All right, we are about 2 weeks away from our big event, Porsche Parade in the Poconos. Are you guys ready?
Nope.
I haven't even packed, and I think after today's session, we're supposed to go back and start packing the pallets. Last year, we sent about 12 pallets to Parade, and
I don't think they've decided between pallets and the pod.
The pods. Yeah. So for those of you that have shipped anything recently, it is a disaster out there. No one wants to guarantee anything. Nothing is what it seems, regardless if you go through a broker, if you go directly to a shipping company. Last year, we shipped our 12 pallets and well in advance, and somehow it ended up in Ohio when we needed it to be in French Lick, Indiana. And they said it wasn't going to make it until 2 or 3 days later after the parade started. So we figured out a way to get our pallets. We got them back. Last year, Works Reunion, we shipped 4 pallets. Our event's on Friday. We got there on Wednesday, and the shipping company said, we decided to put it on a rail, and it's not going to be there till Monday or Tuesday. So thankfully, the Poconos is only 3 hours away. We're still shipping it early. And let's just hope it doesn't take some strange path to get to the Kalahari.
Yeah, because it's no fun.
We'll see. It'll show up in New Mexico or something. Oh yeah, we.
It's no fun going out to Walmart and Home Depot looking for all the supplies that are in your pallets that you have to repurchase in order to pull off the event.
But to the staff and the volunteers' credit, especially with Works Reunion Monterey last year, where we just didn't have anything that we shipped, we did exactly that. We went and got everything that we needed, and to the attendees, I don't think that they could really tell that we were missing everything, which is incredible. So, all right, let's get into some. You want to talk about 1 mile reviews, or you want to go into the news?
We can talk about 1 mile reviews.
All right, so I'm boring. So I drove Damon's car, and these 1 mile reviews, keep in mind, they are about that specific car, not that car in general. So we're trying to get a flavor for it, share with you what we think about it. And we have 1 mile or maybe 2 miles, depending, roughly, right? We're not measuring out that mile, but a short drive. So we're not going to vlog it and put it sideways and try to impress you with our driving skills on a public road. We're going to be actually quite reasonable and drive over bumpy things and try to get steering feel and try to get comfortable in the car. And it's supposed to be entertaining, but to some people, if we're not vlogging it, then it's not enough. I guess they got to watch something else. I don't know what to do.
Like I told somebody, there's plenty of reviews online if you want to see Chris Harris going sideways around a corner. That's easily found on almost any car. We just want to capture, that first mile whenever you test drive a car, what you think, what are you thinking of when you're driving the car for that first mile or two? That's all we're trying to capture. We're not.
It's like that first sip feeling that Starbucks likes to tout, right?
Yeah, I mean, like
says the Starbucks addict. It tastes so good.
Hands trembling when he's coming back in,
Yeah, right.
And then he's literally skipping back to his office when he's got his cup of coffee.
Yep.
It's originally it was 6 minutes, but Damon told me now we're up to 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think I was talking a little bit too much. I think you two have been able to keep it into 10, but man, I'm just spewing information here and there, and 10 minutes for
the
mine.
Caffeine, the double shot, or 4 shots he gets in his Starbucks coffee.
I'll try and make it a little shorter. I don't want to put you guys through 12 minutes for a 1 mile review.
Yeah,
so.
But we did. So while you were away, we did a few more cars, and I drove a 996. I think it was an 02 turbo that was modified. The suspension was lowered, and it handled really well. It was a Tiptronic, but I talk about the fact that some people love Tiptronic, some people hate it. It's not a terrible transmission by any means. I have a Boxster with Tiptronic, and I drove a 2000 996 Cabriolet, which was like a time machine, and it was really fascinating because the owner had gotten all these options when he ordered the car. So there was a lot of leather, and the thing was really in incredible condition. It'd be like the perfect car if you're looking for a used Cabriolet, because it was such a
Was it a manual or was that a tip 2?
Tip 2.
That was also a tip. Okay.
But what threw me off, and I almost was speechless, was the suspension. Because I'd gone from a modified suspension, which is
so
what I like, firm.
Yeah.
And into this car, which almost felt like a Cadillac.
Oh yeah, a stock 996 suspension is very wallowy.
Yes, and that was, and I think,
especially if it's tired.
And I said in this thing, I go, well, this is a little bit soft for me. You can easily change that by getting a to market suspension. But the first time I turned into a corner, I was like, wow, this thing is really Cadillac-like.
Well, you remember when Bob Gutjahr and Ellen Beck got their 40th anniversary 996, and I knew that they were going to track that car, and I told them, I was like, you guys might want to consider putting a suspension on it. And so that car is a little bit different than a standard 996 because it does have the MO3, which is better, obviously. But yeah, they're like, really, a 996 suspension? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty soft, stock, and if it's older, got some miles. Like you said, it's not exactly Cadillac, but it's when you change to MO30 or to a more sporty suspension, it completely changes the characteristic of the car.
Yeah, I wonder if 996 Cabriolets had slightly softer suspension than the coupes. Even that would be something that
that's a good
maybe
point. I don't know.
Research for future 1 mile reviews, but yeah, different type of car, right? Different type of driving.
Yes.
Top down,
I was not
Tiptronic.
prepared for.
Yeah.
Well, you went the wrong direction. You should have you should have had what is tried the softer one first and then gone to the more. You went from more power, stiffer suspension, more aggressive
Power. I knew was coming. That wasn't a shocker, but the suspension what threw me off was it was a.
So speaking of suspension, the recent 1 mile review that's out was me driving your Cayman with the Öhlins, what's it called?
Yep. Öhlins Road and Track,
Road and
and then
Track.
it's got the monoball camber plate and shock mounts.
That drove really well.
Yeah, thank
that
you.
drove really well. It reminds me of driving, a stock GT3, a GT car.
Yeah, I feel the same.
It was comfortable, but it was direct and handled nice. And yeah, I'm a little jealous.
Yeah, the seat's really comfortable once you're in it. At least I think.
I felt I looked like I was shoehorned into that thing. When I'm like, is that the camera angle? Is that just
That's the first thing I thought.
I know. I'm like,
my God, he looks like he's 6'5".
I feel like I was like this huge bear on a little tricycle or something.
Yeah.
But like you said, once you're in, it's very comfortable. Yeah, I have Sparco Evo 2s, and yeah, you climb over them to get in. But once you're in, it's amazing. And especially when you're autocrossing or doing aggressive driving, it just keeps your body in place. And that makes a world of difference when you're driving aggressively.
Yeah. And then I drove 2 cars that day alongside Manny. So I drove Manny's 1990 964 Carrera 2, and I also drove a member's 1987 944. And I drove the 944 first. So I've owned a 944 S2. I've test driven a 924S. I've autocrossed a track prepped 968. I've driven other 968s, 944 turbo, but I'd never driven a base 944. And I was actually impressed. 150 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot, but for that car, it's enough. So I'd probably maybe equate it to a Miata. Maybe it's not enough power for some people, but for most people, it'll get you where you need to go. You can have some fun.
We've heard this before. Driving a low horsepower car fast is a lot of fun. Like in a race, in a race or something like that, or a competitive event, like you probably get frustrated because you're not fast, right? But on public streets, driving a low horsepower car is a lot of fun, and also the satisfaction of carrying momentum through turns and this, that, and the other. So just back to my son a little bit. So from his Corolla, which is an automatic, we wanted him to drive a manual, and so I bought my brother's 2011 Honda Fit. So I'm prepping that car for Jason to drive next year. And that little thing, I think it's only at 110 horsepower,
Yeah.
but flogging that thing on the back road,
Probably 2,500 pounds or something.
it's
right?
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So some people, yes, if you can have lots of horsepower, more power to you, but don't underestimate how much fun you can have in a stock base model car if you drive it right.
So this is Vinny who had the Honda Fit.
Yes.
So what did you make Vinny buy this time that you plan to buy
So
5 years from now?
So this is a Loanne would say it's sort of the Jedi mind trick that I did on my brother. And I think my brother realizes it too. So my brother he's got this Fit. He also has a Subaru BRZ that he cherishes. His car genes kicked in a lot later. He was always like, I don't have the sports genes, as you guys know, and I can barely understand any of the terms that you guys throw out there. But my brother got all the sports stuff. So, but his car genes finally kicked in just after college. So he wanted to learn to drive a manual, and then he bought a TDI diesel. And then because of Dieselgate, he got a ton of money for that car, and he turned that into a BRZ. But his daily driver was a Honda Fit, and it's a little small for him. He's getting married. He's got bikes and this, that, and the other. So he was like adamant about finding a manual Subaru like Forester. They are hard to come by. So as Jason has rounded out his year of driving the Corolla, I'm like, well, now would be a good time to get him into a manual car. So I was starting to look at manuals, looking at Fits, and car prices are ridiculous, and buying a car that you don't know the history, especially like a commuter car like that, I'm not too excited about. So anyways, I'm like, I wonder if I can find Vinny a car. So if I find Vinny a car, then I can buy the Fit for Jason. That's exactly what I did. So lo and behold, I found a 2010, I think it was 2010 or something like that. Subaru Forester manual, slick top. So obviously all-wheel drive, the exact car that he wanted. And he's getting married. He was not prepared to buy a car, but I said, Vinny, how often have you looked and you've never found this car? And I found you this car, and it's literally 10 minutes down the road. So yeah, so I said, and I'll even help you out. I'll buy the Fit so you can have a little bit of money to put towards the Forester, and that's what we did.
So do your neighbors mind the flashing lights?
What do you mean?
From the used car sign in front of your driveway. Because how many cars do you have in your driveway now?
Yeah. So at the,
I know you have them spread around the county. Because your Cayenne's been residing at the PCA.
Yeah, so that's going home today, because it was there for a windshield replacement. But actually, did we do the video for that?
The shorts?
The install. Like we did time lapse.
Yep, the time lapse. I haven't put that up yet, but we have.
Okay, so we have a time lapse video of the windshield being replaced on the Cayenne. But anyways, yeah, right now on the driveway, there's 6 cars.
Yep.
For a 4-car driveway.
Yeah. So anyways, so let's go to the news. Porsche news. Somebody educate me on the 718 Cayman GT4, but electric powertrain.
Yeah, so I ended up writing the story based on Porsche's press release, so I think I'll take that one. But I'm sure most people who listen to the podcast can recall the Mission R that was unveiled.
Gorgeous car.
What was that, 2021, I think, at the LA
Auto Show, yep.
And so that was based on the 718 chassis, electric car, 2 motors, over 1,000 horsepower. And Porsche said that, it was based on technology that could allow the car to run for 30 minutes flat out, not with 1,000 horsepower, which is the qualifying mode, but 600 something horsepower. Well, fast forward now, not quite a year, and Porsche has unveiled a test car, the 718 Cayman GT4 Epformance. It's basically a Mission R, same chassis, same components, same everything, but we've learned a little bit more about it. And did you guys know that this car is oil cooled, just like
really?
a 911?
Huh.
Yeah. So the electric motor and the battery are both direct oil cooled, which I haven't seen a diagram or how it works exactly, but basically, the motor and the battery are bathed in oil, and it allows the car to maintain a lower temperature, and do that 30 minutes of racing flat out with 612
So
horsepower.
What's the Taycan? The Taycan has cooling.
That's coolant.
That's
for the
coolant.
batteries.
Yeah,
Regular
and it
coolant,
doesn't. Yeah,
not
and it's
oil.
not direct cooling of the motor or the battery. It's got channels. Where the coolant goes. Kind of like how an engine block has channels for coolant to cool the engine. But yeah, this is direct oil cooling of the battery and of the motor. And I think in Chris Harris's video, which was very well done, they said that it's not quite ready for production car status to have that sort of technology. But I'm sure down the line, technology like that will filter out into production cars, and we'll have, Teslas, Porsches, and all sorts of electric cars that can lap a racetrack.
And that's what we love about Porsche is it's, the track is their lab, right? Obviously they have Weissach and the track at Weissach, and they're trying all of these different technologies, and when it proves itself on the track, then sure enough, it finds its way into the street cars that we get to buy.
So I will say this, go a little bit different from what Damon was talking about. I'm doing a tech quiz for Parade, and there's 7 different classes. So I'm reading Excellence Was As Expected. It's kind of like literally the Bible.
Absolutely.
Except for
Carl
Jesus, you're
Ludwigsen,
talking
right?
about Weissach and what Porsche was planning, and it was very interesting because I'm doing the 4 volume set. So I've been carrying this around in my backpack, and the thing I could kill somebody in this thing. It is in just 1 volume. There's 4 of them. So, but what's consistent in every model that I'm doing these tech questions for, or tech quiz questions, it's amazing. And there's interviews with retired engineers, and very rarely was the cost in a it wasn't like the bean counters were coming saying you have to take this out, you have to take that out. A lot of it was so performance related. It was, what is the performance there for what we want to do? If not, how much more will it cost? And then we'll decide whether this is going to fit into the price point. But yeah, it's fascinating. And how much the Porsche engineers wanted to reach a certain performance and wanted this thing to be reliable, especially in motorsports. So, when I look at this 1,000 horsepower future Cayman racer, I wonder if the other companies building electric cars, if they're doing this much R&D this far ahead. I know, Tesla is so far ahead, they say, of everyone else. But I wonder if it's really for the stuff that's performance related that why people love Porsche. So yeah, you gotta admire what Porsche does at Weissach with over 1,000 engineers. These guys have one sole purpose to make a better car, to make a more reliable car, and I'm excited about it. I just don't like the sound. I don't know if it was the audio from my headphones but that screeching sound.
I don't mind it, but I wonder how long your ears can take it before you start getting hearing loss.
Yeah, it was.
So it was loud, like Mazda rotary loud, like back in the day.
It was like a screeching sound.
Interesting.
You've heard the noise. It's hard to describe, but go watch Chris Harris's video and you'll see. You can't even hear him talk with his headphones. And
really? It's that loud?
Yeah, I could not hear what he was saying when he was actually driving.
It's higher pitched. It's not the Jetson sound, but it's higher pitched than like a GT3R would be, or an RSR. But other than that, I'm excited. It doesn't sound much 30 minutes in a race, but that's a lot.
That's how long the sprint races, I believe, with Cup cars, the sprint challenge, they go for about 30 minutes.
They're building it to spec.
Well, we're at the beginning too of the development of electric.
Yeah,
we're at the end of internal combustion. But there's so much they're going to learn and make more efficient with electric racing.
Yep. And these are test beds, so these are not production cars at this point. So don't think that now or in the near future. But we'll probably see some technology on these. And also, one last thing: it's a wide body Cayman. It's 14 centimeters wider than a normal Cayman, and I think it looks awesome. And I wish that Porsche would make a Cayman, the GT3 RS even, right, with a wide body like that.
That would be
and
cool.
More power.
It will be. No one's really talking about this, but I see it essentially as the end of the 911 in the sense that part of what makes the 911, it's the only production car with an engine behind the axles. So that will essentially disappear. especially when they they make a full electric. There's going to be 2 motor, one in front and one in rear.
Yeah.
That'll
Weight balance totally changes.
Yeah,
And
sure.
in fact, guess what the weight balance is for the 718 Cayman GT4 E-Performance is?
They always hope for a 50-50, right? So
It's close, but it's actually more front heavy
front,
than
yeah.
rear heavy. It's 52 front, 48 rear.
for a more front end bite.
That's
better turn-in?
probably just how the weight ended up, with the battery packs and the 2 motors.
so at that point, is it a Cayman?
Yeah, it doesn't have a mid-engine feeling
Well,
anymore. if
I
it's
think it
heavier
will
to
be
run.
because it'll redefine how we identify cars.
Mhm.
But it's we'll still have the old rear engine 911s.
I don't get so caught up on whether a car is front engine, mid engine, or rear engine. Like, I just enjoy the characteristics of how it drives. Like, your mid engine car. Like, I didn't go, oh, I think I'm gonna like it or dislike it because it's mid engine. I just drove it for what it was.
Yeah.
And then, like, my 87, which the motor hangs out, like, I enjoy it and the personality that it has because what it is. It's not like, oh, I covet the rear engine because it is this. It's just a fun car to drive.
Yeah. But electric cars, they'll be what they are, but they're not going to feel, I don't think, rear engine necessarily like a 911 is rear engine or mid engine like a Cayman. It's just different, right?
Yeah.
It's just different. And
It's
it'll
just
have
different.
all-wheel drive, so it'll be higher performance. But
So yesterday I had the opportunity to meet the CEO of Carnival Cruise, who owns Princess Cruise, and the CEO of Princess Cruise was there, and we were sharing with them the partnership that we're having and all the things that they're doing in PCA. And
Did you wear your uniform you wore to the after hours
I can
lounge?
tell you were giggling. No, I did not dress up like Gilligan. But we have a model relationship with them, and you'll see more of them in the next couple of months. You'll see them at Parade. They actually bought a Taycan for PCA members, and you have an opportunity to win that if you go to their websites, and if you get more points or more chances to win this Taycan if you book a cruise, and there's a special concierge. Anyways, we'll talk about that sponsorship later. But the thing is we were there to introduce the CEOs to PCA and then also Porsche, and they brought out a 911 C4, and they brought out a couple of Taycans, and there happened to be a Tesla Model Y there that someone just randomly parked, and it was just very visible to see how, and don't get me wrong, I love how Tesla has been a disruptor and has moved electric cars forward, but when we were describing the Taycan or sharing the details of the CEO was like, man, this is still very much a sports car. Like, in his mind, an electric car was what kind of Tesla and maybe a Nissan Leaf kind of represents. It's more like a appliance that doesn't have emotion or doesn't have heritage. And when he sat in the Taycan, he's like, this feels like a sports car. It's when you sit, everything is oriented to the driver, the seating position. And that's what we love about Porsche. They're going to make an electric car. They're going to make multiple electric cars, but they're all going to have that same DNA that we covet. Yeah. So exciting times. And that torque, that power, will you miss the sound? Absolutely. You'll miss the sound. And when that 911 C4 pulled away, they were doing test drives, and they click on the sport mode. Man, that sound is amazing. Even with the turbos, right? That kind of muffles a little bit of the exhaust. Still an amazing sound. And when the Taycan rolled off, you just have to know it's different. It's a different genre, and you appreciate it for what it is. All right. Speaking of crazy things, Ken Block, 1,400 horsepower. We talked about Pikes Peak when we were there for Treffin Broadmoor. Hoonipigasus.
yeah, Hoonipigasus.
Yeah, it's,
Mid-engine 911, 1,400.
I hope they make this into a model. I would
It's
love to have a
crazy
1/18
looking.
scale model
Yeah.
of this car. It's purpose built. I think it's a tube frame. The engine's from a 2016 GT3 R, It makes 1,400 horsepower at sea level. That's the key. And this is why the electric cars do so well, because they stick with the same horsepower at whatever height. Internal combustion engine cars, on the other hand, run on air, and as the air gets thinner, the horsepower drops. So it drops from 1,400 to 800 horsepower when it gets to the top. So
even with the turbochargers.
Wow. Yeah. It's 9,600 RPM, runs on methanol, and they're in the open class. So I don't know how to do against the electric car. I think Volkswagen is bringing an electric car again. But yeah, it'll be
so my hopes is the folks that we are going to be partnering with Unstock, they actually are going to be at Pikes Peak. And part of the surprise for Unstock will be sort of a relationship that is going to be built at Pikes Peak. So I more than likely will be at Pikes Peak this year, and I will bring camera and microphones along and hopefully capture this Hoonipigasus as well for you all.
Just ask the drivers to pull over halfway and
I'm sure. I'm sure.
You can flag
I have
down.
been told if you set up at the top of the mountain, just expect to be there all day because they're not going to stop traffic for you to come down.
Well, they do have one road up and one road down, so and the cars are racing on that road. So
Exactly. 911 GT3 RS spied. I hadn't seen this article. Who picked this one up?
Well, it was an e-brake last night.
Oh, okay.
But Manny picked this one out for our run of show today. But yeah, GT3 RS. Of course, we knew they were going to make one.
the big wing, that's what everyone's talking about.
Big wing is huge.
So it'll be interesting to see if it goes to production, because we know that Wysock is very good at disguising things and putting things out there. And sometimes it's lights, sometimes it's tail lights, sometimes it's reflectors, it's whatever. And people are having a cow over the fact that they think this is the production version. And then when the production version comes out, it's different. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they come out with this big wing.
They almost have to, because the size of the one on the regular GT3 is, to me, almost looks like an RS model.
I was about to say, it's like the RS is the wildest version, right? So
yeah,
the regular GT3 wing is already much crazier compared to a touring. So you would think they'd go all out for the RS.
It'll be interesting to see what the performance numbers are, because we've seen that horsepower hasn't been jumping up. At least it's almost in single digits. So they're relying on aero and lightweight. So this big wing would say that this is part of an aero package that's going to deliver some amazing numbers. And the question will be, would this be the last normally aspirated RS, or just plain internal combustion engine RS?
But you got to imagine that there's probably, normally aspirated, but then there will be the crazy GT2. Right.
Hopefully, yeah.
You would think. I mean, that's kind of the schedule that they're typically on. So there's still some crazy stuff to come. And didn't I read somewhere there was like an ST or something like that?
They're also, we're going to have to talk with, I think he's going to be at Works Reunion Monterey.
Were we allowed to say that? It's out there,
no,
right?
it's out there.
It's out there. Okay.
It's a rumor at this point,
Well,
so we don't know for sure.
We don't know for sure.
Alex Fabig, who's oversees this. This is all part of the classic series, Heritage series. So
is it Targa 4 Heritage?
Well, they had talked about a 73 RS tribute, but I think that's the Sport Classic now. At first he said Sport Classic, and there would be a 73 RS tribute, but I think that was actually the Sport Classic. That is in a separate car, because
Straight face. Because
the
Boo obviously knows.
Well, go ahead. Is there Motor Trend said there is.
I have an NDA that I have to stick to. Keep going.
No, let's just let this sink in for a few seconds.
I don't think they're come out. I don't think they're going to come out, but they're just marketing the 73 RS with the Sport Classic way too much. I can't imagine they're going to come out again and say this is our tribute to this. Wasn't the other car? Why would they pick the 73 RS?
What was the original ST? You know, I've heard of the ST. I know it was a performance model, but I'm not really all that familiar with the original ST.
Yeah, wide-bodied ST, kind of. I don't want to say rally, but I mean, it was a rally,
yeah.
right? It was a rally version of the 911, and they're super rare. There aren't many of them around. The original ones. It was a Woody DeLong, our past legal counsel. I think he has one in his basement that's in pieces.
But so like what was it? Was it ST? Was it a T body with an S engine, and then I guess flares added on or something? Is that where the ST comes from, or am I just imagining things?
I'm trying to see what the actual ST. I thought it might have been sport. I don't know if they had sport touring back then. But it's actually a very rare car. Mm-hmm. Based on a 911S. Of course, it had the wider fenders.
I always remember it had a very high stance about it and wide tires.
Yeah, and it was I believe it was built for rallying. Mm-hmm. It was very lightweight. And you see a lot of replicas out there, but actually seeing a real one was.
And they would typically have huge CB fog lights or driving lights on them too.
And they weighed as low as 1,720 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. So ST maybe it's just a super lightweight version of the Sport Classic, because the Sport Classic's already got the wide body of the turbo minus the intake holes, and I guess we'll see.
We will see.
Well, I mean I was happy they made the Sport Classic more than just
aesthetics.
Aesthetics, yeah, like the original Sport Classic. I love the original Sport Classic, but everyone complained that there was no performance improvements. But essentially making a GT2, right? Because it's rear-wheel drive turbo.
That's how I see it, rear-wheel drive turbo.
I mean, they should have called it just a GT2.
And I can share that upcoming PCA events, you'll want to be there to catch a glimpse of something like that.
So it's going to be a parade.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that you want to come to PCA events to possibly catch a glimpse.
Well, I don't think the public. I don't think the welcome party is open to the public. So that's usually when that's usually when they debut cars.
Poker face. Let's see. Anything else? We're at the top of the hour. We have to close the show. If you haven't watched all the videos on YouTube, we've been releasing a lot of content. 964 RS generation. Of course, the Cayman 1 mile review. Manny drove my Turbo Look Cabriolet and did his 1 mile review, and there's more to come. There's lots in the hopper.
Yep. 1 mile reviews are weekly. At the moment, we are trying to stick to a release schedule of Saturday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern. So most of you all on YouTube seem to watch our channel on Saturdays and Sundays midday for about 4 or 5 hours. Sounds like a good day.
Thank you for that. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. That's a measurement for us, for our progress. So, and also when the higher subscribe rates go, we believe that the videos that we've produced, get out there to the public more and furthers the cause. So please subscribe if you haven't done so. Anything else before we sign off, fellas?
So 911 ST will debut a parade.
Thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Just grab your VIN, join at PCA.org. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos, Porsche Club Insider. If you have any questions or if you want us to cover some stuff, email us at podcast@pca.org. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.